Get ready, Padres fans. It's time for the EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show on the Padres Radio Network.
Tatis at third, 2 outs. Fernando takes off. He's going to steal home without a play.
Coming up, we'll have a recap of the previous Padres game, a preview of today's starting pitching matchup, and our keys to the game. Plus, we'll hear from manager Mike Shildt. From the Padres Radio Network, here's Sam Levitt.
San Diego Padres baseball coming up on 97.3 The Fan and the Padres Radio Network. Today the Padres take on the Atlanta Braves in Game 2 of the National League Wild Card Series. Our starting pitching matchup today for the Braves, left-hander Max Fried, and for the Padres, right-hander Joe Musgrove. Hi, good everyone. Sam Levitt with you inside the loft here at the Western Metal Building at Petco Park. First pitch coming up at 5:38 p.m. Coming up in the next 50 minutes, we'll hear from Kyle Higashioka, we'll hear from Padres manager Mike Shildt, and we hear from today's starting pitcher, Joe Musgrove. But first, let's set the table, brought to you by Fraser Farms Market. Set your table with the highest quality of natural and organic products from Fraser Farms Market, a San Diego original since 1971 with 3 locations, La Mesa, Vista, and Oceanside. Padres have a 1-0 lead in this best-of-3 series. If the Padres win, they move on to the National League Division Series. If the Braves win tonight, then we have a decisive Game 3 of this series tomorrow night here at Petco Park. This place was absolutely electric last night from well before first pitch until the final out. Let's recap Game 1.
How did the Padres fare in their last game? Let's take a look back with our Padres Rewind. Presented by Hamul Casino. With thrilling slots and tables and all the best rewards, Hamul Casino has all the fun you're looking for. Hamul Casino. Fun above all else.
The Braves had runners at the corners with 2 outs in the top of the first inning. Michael King got out of it. In the bottom half of the inning, Luis Arraez started the Padres' night with a leadoff single. Fernando Tatis Jr. was next.
First pitch, Tatis swings, sends it in the air, very high to left, very deep. Laureano is back. You got to be kidding me. A long home run. First pitch, first at bat, 2-0.
King pitched a 1-2-3 top of the second inning. In the bottom half, the Padres rallied again. Jake Cronenworth was hit by a pitch to start the inning. Donovan Solano then singled. That got Jake to third base. Kyle Higashioka then hit a fly ball to center. It was plenty deep enough to score Cronenworth from third base. A sac fly, RBI for Higgy. Padres had a 3-0 lead. The Braves had early chances. King stranded 2 on base in the third. He left a runner on second base in the fourth inning. King threw a 1-2-3 top of the fifth inning. Padres still led 3-0 going to the sixth inning. King kept it rolling. All right, so he struck out Jorge Soler for the final out of that inning. In the top of the seventh inning, King continued to pitch extremely well. He struck out batters 11 and 12 on the night. Gio Urshela dug in. All right, so strikeout of Gio Urshela to end the inning. What a night for Michael King. 7 shutout innings, 12 strikeouts for Michael King. He was simply terrific. In the bottom half of the 8th inning, Kyle Higashioka hit a solo home run. That made it a 4-0 game. Robert Suarez came on for the top of the 9th inning. He put on the finishing touch. Robert Suarez allowing a base hit in that 9th inning, but that was it. The final score yesterday, the Padres 4 and the Braves 0 in Game 1 of the NL Wild Card Series. Quite a start for Michael King. He was the superstar of last night's game. Kyle Higashioka also homered in that 8th inning for his second career postseason home run. His first came on October 5th, 2020. That was against the Rays in the NLDS, or I should say, the ALDS of Game 1. That was at Petco Park, but obviously a very, very different environment at Petco Park in 2020, whether it was the Padres here or other teams playing here. Not a big crowd at all. In fact, nobody here aside from the people working here in 2020. And then last night, a sold-out crowd. So you fast forward 4 years later, quite an environment here at Petco Park. And now here inside the Western Metal Building tonight, The Padres welcoming a lot of fans once again. Everybody having a good time here inside the loft. The beer is being consumed, the mixed drinks being consumed, and it is buzzing already well before first pitch. Let's go inside the Jerry Coleman Broadcast Center.
Let's go inside the Padres broadcast booth for a deep dive on today's matchup from Tony Gwynn Jr. in our Padres game preview on the Padres Radio Network.
We go down the way here at Petco Park. We're joined by Tony Gwynn Jr. And Tony, before we turn our full attention to Game 2 of this series, would love to hear your thoughts about Game 1, what Michael King did, and what the Padres showed in front of what was an electric crowd here at Petco Park.
Michael King was phenomenal last night, and I thought from inning 1 on, he just got stronger as the day went on, and I just think that Braves didn't have anything for him. I mean, when he's going that good, and we've seen it over the course of the year, there aren't very many offense that are going to have anything from him. And in terms of the crowd, the thing I noticed really immediately was the buzz in the building. This place has been sold out a record-setting amount of times this year. It was different than the regular season. I always felt like this stadium during the regular season is much more of a social event. People come, they have a good time, they watch the Padres play. But it felt like before the game even started, as they were doing starting lineups and Victor Rodriguez, the Padres hitting coach, was announced, and that standing ovation he got, it was a sign to me that everybody in the building last night was here to watch a baseball game, and the energy said so.
Yeah, absolutely. The energy was absolutely terrific last night. Joe Musgrove on the mound for the Padres here tonight. Obviously, Tony Joe had a terrific finish to the season since coming off the IL. Really, you look at 2 innings. I mean, the home run he gave up to Will Smith, the 6 runs he gave up against the Giants. If you take those 2 innings out, I mean, he was as good as you could imagine since coming off the IL. What do you view as the keys tonight for Joe Musgrove against an Atlanta lineup that didn't do much last night, but has some big names, especially at the top, that we know can do damage?
I think what I expect from Joe is what we typically get from him. I mean, I consider Joe Musgrove a big game pitcher. I mean, I think he proved that in 22 in the situations that he pitched in, that he enjoys those moments and rises to the occasion in those moments. And I expect nothing different tonight. I think for Joe, he always tried to reinvent himself over the course of the year. And this addition of the sweeper, he's kind of moved away from the slider, and the curveball's been fantastic. Yeah. He's added some velo since coming back. I expect to see the same thing from him here tonight.
And we know Joe, he really cherishes the big moment. We've seen it in the postseason before, so really looking forward to seeing Joe on the mound tonight in this environment here at Petco Park. Tony, let's talk about the other side of this pitching matchup. Left-hander Max Fried coming off a really, really good final start of the regular season. Padres saw him once early in the year, did pretty well against them. What do you view as the keys tonight for this offense against one of the better left-handed pitchers in the game in Max Fried?
Yeah, and when the Padres got to him early, that was at a time where they weren't hitting lefties well at all. He was one of the really few lefties that the Padres had a bunch of success on early in that part of the season. But, again, you and I talk about it a lot. It doesn't change for the Padres. What you saw last night is probably along the lines of what you'll see tonight. It may not have a long ball factor as it did last night, but that is what makes this team so dangerous, is they can beat you on a night like last night with the long ball, but then they can string together 5, 6, 7 hits in a row and put up crooked numbers on you. And when you're not solely reliant on one way to play come postseason time, it makes you tough to deal with, because pitching may be able to shut down the long ball over the course of a postseason run, but if your team is accustomed to facing good pitching and stringing together hits, I think it gives you the max possibility of being able to have success in the postseason.
All right, Tony, very good stuff as always. We'll talk to you and Jesse coming up at 5:28 p.m. Promptly here at Petco Park, and should be fun. We'll see if the Padres can advance to the NLDS with a win here tonight and avoid having to play Game 3 tomorrow. Tony, great stuff. Thanks so much as always.
Thank you, Sam.
All right, that's Tony Gwynn Jr. joining us on our EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show here on the Padres Radio Network as we get ready for first pitch. Coming up at 5:38 here at Petco Park, Game 2 of this 3-game series. I should say best of 3 series. Padres hoping that it doesn't go to 3 games. They can control that here tonight. Remember, if the Braves win, that would force a decisive Game 3 tomorrow, where one team would move on to L.A., the other team would go home for the winter. So every game of the postseason, every game of this wild card series, absolutely critical. We'll see how Joe Musgrove and the Padres fare here tonight. When we come back, we hear from Padres manager Mike Shildt. Much more to come as we get ready for Game 2 of the 2024 National League Wild Card Series. Our pregame coverage continues when we return on the Padres Radio Network. Back here on the EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show on the Padres Radio Network. EcoWater SoCal 2024 BBB Torch Awards for Ethics winner. Find them online at EcoWaterSoCal.com. Your water should it be perfect. Sam Levitt with you inside the loft here at the Western Metal Building at Petco Park as we get ready for Game 2 of this 3-game, or I should say, I got to stop doing that, best-of-3 series between the Padres and the Braves, the NL Wild Card Series. Padres trying to pop some champagne here tonight, move on to the NLDS. The Braves trying to have a say and trying to, make sure we play tomorrow. Padres hoping for an off day tomorrow, off day Friday, starting the NLDS in LA on Saturday, but a lot of work to do before then as they send right-hander Joe Musgrove to the mound here today. One of the stars of last night's game, no doubt, was Kyle Higashioka. A big night for Higgy, had the sac fly in the third, or excuse me, I should say the second, to make it a 3-0 game. Then he had the home run in the 8th inning to make it 4-0. And then beyond that, the big contribution last night from Higgy, what he did behind the plate, catching Michael King, who was brilliant. One of the better postseason starts you will see, and certainly one of the best in Padres history. 7 shutout innings. He didn't walk anybody and struck out 12. With all that in mind, let's hear from Padres manager Mike Shildt before today's game.
Let's pull up a seat in the manager's office and hear from Padres manager Mike Shildt. Presented by Sinley Food. Spice up your culinary life.
Joe talked yesterday about being really patient coming back and kind of letting that process work out longer than he might have in the past. I was wondering if you could just kind of talk to that mentality, because it is kind of a shift for him in the way he likes to operate.
Yeah, Joe's a pedal to the metal kind of guy, getting after it. And so rightfully he was agreeable to take a little step back. And not to say, and again, I can't speak for him clearly about how he feels with his body, but, he wanted to make sure he got it right and be able to, when he came back, be able to get to the point where he is now. So I applaud him for that.
Can you speak to just generally your mindset in a game 2 where you have a 1-0 lead? It's not do or die per se, but obviously like you want to attack it like it is in a way. Like what is your mindset there?
We're going to play to win. We're going to get after it. Yeah, I mean it's it's great what we did last night, but it's only as good as following up with one more.
Joe Musgrove obviously has had a lot of success on the mound during his time in San Diego. He's also seemingly been a pretty significant voice inside the clubhouse. I'm wondering, in your position this year as his manager, in your eyes, what has Joe's impact on this team been, even beyond the mound, but inside the clubhouse?
Joe's most impressive part of this season and his impact was when he was not pitching. It really was. It was a masterclass and a privilege for me to see him when clearly disappointed, a lot of expectations for him and the team going into the season. And when he wasn't on the field competing, he could have easily, gone a different direction with his desire, not necessarily his desire to come back, because that's just part of Joe Musgrove's DNA. He's going to compete to get back to perform. But he could easily have disassociated himself with the team a little bit and felt like, hey, what do I have to contribute because I'm not performing? But instead, he took the complete opposite approach to it. He stood up and still led by his his actions of how he went about things. He started to get really involved with the clubhouse and make sure everybody was, including with myself, and it was a partnership that I have with a lot of our players about what's this looking like. But he really took the bull by the horns and continued to pour into guys and set an example of what we expect here in this organization. And, leading by example is one thing. He does it very, very well. And he was able to lead without actually performing on the field for a couple months. And it was very impressive. Big part of why we're here.
What's the most excited you've ever seen Kyle Higashioka?
That's a fair question. Pretty stoic. But he's got fire. Let's don't mistake that. Higgy's got some fire to him, and but he keeps everything very even keeled, and I just appreciate the way he competes. A very consistent competitor. But I can't say there's one moment that I've seen that he's been overly demonstrative. It's a great trait.
What did you know about him when you got the job, when he came over, and has he surprised you in any way? Just getting to know him.
You do your homework, you do your due diligence, and then you have people in the industry that reach out to you. So it's a combination of reaching out to people that having people reach out to you, and across the board, even before the trade, because I was there in the winter meetings when that trade was going down, and there was just consistency. You talk about his ability's ability. You can evaluate that. Clearly, it's been good. It's helped us, but also just the makeup, quality of person, the anchor of who he is and how he goes about things in the clubhouse. Keeps a good vibe, plays his guitar. He's got a good sense of energy about him. He's got a nice sense of humor. So he's just been a real asset in the clubhouse as advertised. And everything positive that people said about him is true across the board, and maybe more so.
That was Padres manager Mike Shildt earlier today inside the interview room here at Petco Park. We'll hear more from Mike on our post-game show coming up later on this evening as we get ready for Game 2 of the 2024 NL Wildcard Series. We are live from Petco Park on a gorgeous Wednesday late afternoon turning into early evening. This place was absolutely buzzing last night from well before the first pitch until the final out. Padres trying to make it buzz once again here tonight as they try to book their ticket to the National League Division Series. It would begin Saturday against the LA Dodgers in LA, but first things first, Padres need a win here tonight or tomorrow, although the Padres hoping to avoid playing tomorrow and just quickly sweep this best-of-3 series. When we return, we'll hear from Kyle Higashioka. We'll also hear from Joe Musgrove coming up a little bit later as well. We have a full look at the out-of-town scoreboard, tell you what else is going on in the postseason right now, some of the results from earlier today. Much, much more to do. First pitch coming up at 5:38 here in downtown San Diego on the Padres Radio Network. Our EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show continues here on the Padres Radio Network as we get ready for Game 2 of the 2024 NL Wildcard Series here at Petco Park. Crowd filing in. Lights are on, plenty of sunshine still, plenty of fans here inside the loft at the Western Meadow Building wearing all kinds of Padres jerseys. I see a Manny Machado jersey in front of me, a Joe Musgrove jersey in front of me as well, and that is very fitting here tonight. San Diego's own Joe Musgrove on the mound for the Padres in Game 2 of this wild card series. As we know, Joe is a big game pitcher. We certainly saw that in the postseason in 2022. We'll see what Joe has in store here tonight in his 2024 postseason debut, and Joe has certainly been very, very good for the Padres as of late. We'll talk plenty more about Joe and hear from Joe coming up in just a little bit. Before we hear from Kyle Higashioka, who had a big night yesterday, back in the starting lineup here tonight, let's update you on the injuries. Really nothing new to report, but let's dive into our injury report.
Who's in, who's out? This is the Bada Fulkerson Injury Report, presented by San Diego's Bulldog Injury Attorneys, who hope you're never in an accident. But if you are, make Bada Fulkerson the first call you make. Hit them up 24/7 at badafulkerson.com.
We update you on some of the injuries for both these teams entering this series. The good news, nothing to report on from last night. But what was significant for both these teams entering yesterday? Well, number one for the Braves, Chris Sale scratched from Monday's starting game 2 of that doubleheader against the Mets with back spasms. He was then left off the Braves wild card series roster, and that was significant because we thought there was a chance that Chris Sale could pitch in this series one way or another. Obviously didn't end up happening, and then the Brewers had to go, not the Brewers, the Brewers on the TVs here, I got distracted. The Braves, rather, had to go to A.J. Smith-Shawver last night. Didn't go all that well. So that Sale scratch and the back spasms played a big role so far in this series. This is a Braves team we talked about yesterday. They have been ravaged by injuries all year. Austin Riley won't return this year. Spencer Strider underwent Tommy John surgery in April. Ronald Acuna Jr. tore his ACL again. He's been out for the year. Padres, meanwhile, are really healthy aside from Ha-Seong Kim being done for the year after suffering a small tear in the labrum in his right shoulder. He will get surgery at some point on that shoulder. And that's a look at the injury report. Again, nothing new to report after last night, but obviously some significant injuries, certainly for the Braves, and the Ha-Seong Kim injury, which you probably know about by now, significant for the Padres. Let's update you on what's gone on around the other wild card series earlier in the day.
Let's take a trip around the Bigs and tell you about the scores you need to know in our out-of-town scoreboard. Presented by Jensen Meat, where great taste meets integrity.
We have two finals already today, one being in Baltimore. The Royals lose in the postseason again, and they're out of the postseason again without winning a game. Royals beat the Orioles 2-1 in Baltimore in Game 2 of that wild card series. Kansas City wins the series 2-0. They move on to the American League Division Series. The Orioles scored a grand total of 1 run in the 2 games. But how about this? The Royals, they won 1-0 yesterday. They won 2-1 here today. So the Royals scored 3 runs, and they won both games of the series. If you are the Orioles and an Oriole fan, you got to be pulling your hair out. The other team scores 3 runs total, and they win both games. That's what happened. Kansas City moving on. Tigers, meanwhile, they beat the Astros in 2 games earlier today. The final score in Game 2, Tigers 5, Astros 2. A huge hit by Andy Ibanez in the 8th inning, a bases-clearing double. That broke a 2-2 tie, and it won it for the Tigers. They move on to the ALDS. So the Astros are out, the Orioles are out. The Mets and the Brewers going on right now in the 2nd inning in Milwaukee. They're tied at 1. Mets won yesterday's game, so they have a 1-0 lead. Brewers trying to keep their season alive and force a decisive Game 3. Again, the Mets and Brewers tied at 1 in the 2nd in Milwaukee. And that is a look at what has gone on in the other wild card series. And we'll see if the Mets can, the Mets have actually taken a 2-1 lead in that 2nd inning, by the way. So the Mets back in front in Milwaukee. Frankie Montas not off to a great start for the Brewers on the mound. And one game yet to begin. It's this one in San Diego between the Braves and the Padres. Well, like we've said, one of the stars of yesterday's game, no doubt, Michael King was number 1. Maybe Fernando Tatis Jr. was number 2. But maybe the third star of the night was Kyle Higashioka. He caught Michael King, who was brilliant, caught a shutout by this Padres pitching staff to open up the postseason. And, of course, Higashioka had a sac fly. He had a home run late in the game to really put the icing on the cake, if you will, in a 4-0 win. Kyle Higashioka spoke with myself and the media earlier today.
Higgy, just wondering, since Joe came back, what have you seen back there that's allowed him to be this dominant and effective?
Yeah, I mean, he's just a competitor, and the stuff's always been, top-level stuff amongst the best in the league. But, I think with him, the best thing about him is his competitiveness. Every time he steps on the mound, he's ready to go out there and dominate, no matter if he's feeling good or bad, or no matter the circumstances.
How about for you? Obviously, I'm sure the Yankee organization meant a lot to you, drafted out of high school, but being close to home, back on the West Coast this year, how's that experience been?
It's been great. The weather's definitely been really nice, sunny and 72 every day. But I mean, it's been awesome. California is super familiar for me, so there's definitely that sense of comfort, being on the West Coast.
The introductions yesterday, the camera showed Joe. He looked like he was ready to fight yesterday. I'm just curious, like, his aura, what do you see from him the last couple of days coming into today?
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure he'll be ready to fight today too. It's just the kind of competitor he is. He's intense, and he wants to get the job done every time.
Personally, for you, you played so many years in the minor leagues. You were a number 2 catcher in New York. You started this year as a number 2. How satisfying is it for you to be at this point, carrying the load, producing?
I mean, I'm just happy that I can contribute to the team having success. I think, and in part, you have to play well to be able to do that. But I think that's the biggest thing for me is being on a winning team. I think as a catcher, that's kind of one of the biggest reflections of whether or not you're doing a decent job is if the team's winning. So, we're just hoping to keep that up.
A career high in home runs during the regular season, then you have a home run in the postseason opener last night. For you offensively, what steps forward do you feel like you've taken in this season in particular?
I think it's more just learning how to become a little better hitter, adding some adjustability to my swing, and just working with these hitting coaches here. It's been awesome, and they've really helped me a lot, and they've helped keep me sharp all year. So I think it's a big thanks to them, and a lot of credit to them for getting the best out of me.
You mentioned the hitting coaches, Victor Rodriguez. A lot of players have talked highly about him all year. He got a big ovation here at the ballpark last night during introductions. What kind of impact has Victor had in particular on your season?
Yeah, I mean, he's just a calming, steady presence. He understands that hitters are going to go through ups and downs, and he never panics ever, and he's just always there to keep you moving forward. So and he's one of my favorite guys in the clubhouse, I think, with everybody. So that helps.
There's a little difference in kind of our pregame audio. You might be used to having me ask all the questions, but everything's a little bit different. The press conference is here, so a little bit of a different scene for the pregame audio. Hope you enjoy it. You may hear questions from Jesse Agler or Tony Gwynn Jr. Throughout these press conferences. So good stuff from Higgy. Obviously a big night yesterday with the home run, catching Michael King, and Kyle Higashioka back in the lineup here tonight, batting ninth and doing the catching. First pitch coming up at 5:38 here in downtown San Diego. Let's give you our keys to Game 2.
How will the Padres unlock a victory in today's game? These are the keys to the game on the Padres Radio Network.
Key number 1, make Max Fried feel a little deja vu. Max Fried is an excellent left-hander, and he's coming off a tremendous start. More on that later, but the Padres did well against Fried in the lone start he made against them this season. That was all the way back on May 17th. Fried allowed 3 runs on 9 hits in just 4 innings and a third. So a question here tonight, can the Padres make him work again. Also, there's a little bit of history here. In December of 2014, A.J. Preller was just months into his tenure as Padres GM. He traded Max Fried to the Braves in the deal that brought Justin Upton to San Diego. 10 years later, Fried could make his final start for the Braves here tonight. He's on the verge of hitting free agency, so a little bit of history there. Key number 2, don't let the lefty beat you. Early on this season, you might remember that we made a big deal of the Padres' struggles against left-handed pitching. Now, overall this season, they ended up hitting .239 against lefties and .272 against righties. The .239 against lefties was actually below league average, but the Padres' struggles against lefties hasn't been as big a problem in the last few months. Kevin Acee had these numbers in the San Diego Union Tribune this morning. The Padres batted .225 through June 6th against left-handers. They went just 9-13 in games started by a lefty through June 6th, but since then, those numbers are a lot better. The Padres hit .251 against lefties since June 7th. They went 18-6 in games started by a lefty from that point on. So I bring all that up to say this: the Padres can't allow a left-handed starting pitcher to do something big tonight against them. Padres need to keep that positive trend against left-handed pitching going. Key number 3, hey offense, get it going. Now, the Padres won last night. Let's be real. They didn't score a lot of runs. They had four runs on a combined 5 hits. 2 came on the home run by Fernando, 1 on the sac fly, and 1 in the 8th inning on Kyle Higashioka's home run. And as we know, when the Padres offense is going right, they put the ball in play, they move guys around, they spread it around. In fact, the Padres didn't have a hit last night from the 3rd through the 7th inning. That's 5 innings in a row without a hit. That can be a dangerous way to live in the postseason. Let's see if the Padres offense can show a little bit more consistency here tonight. And that's a look at our keys to tonight's game. When we come back, we hear from Padres starting pitcher Joe Musgrove. We tell you what to watch for in today's game. Much, much more to do as we walk you up towards first pitch coming up at 5:38 here in downtown San Diego. Game 2 of this best of 3 series between the Padres and the Atlanta Braves. I just got a rally towel inside the loft here. I'm waving it around, so I'm now getting gifts inside the loft during our pregame coverage. We continue after this on the Padres Radio Network. Our EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show continues here on the Padres Radio Network. Sam Levitt with you inside the loft here at the Western Metal Building at Petco Park as we get ready for first pitch coming up at 5:38 p.m. Game 2 of this 2024 National League Wild Card Series. We'll hear from Padres starting pitcher Joe Musgrove coming up in just a matter of minutes, so stay tuned for that. Looking forward to hearing what Joe has to say before his big start in his hometown here tonight. Let's tell you what to watch for in today's game.
What's the one thing Sam Levitt will be keeping his eye on in today's game? This is What to Watch For. Presented by Genesis Home Improvements, San Diego's trusted painting, roofing, and window company. Save 15% today on a new beginning for your home. Visit GenesisHomeImprovementsSD.com.
What to watch for in today's game. Game 2 of this series, the impact of Fernando Tatis Jr. We saw it last night. Fernando setting the tone with the 2-run home run in the first inning. Fernando is now batting .320 in his 7 career postseason games with 3 home runs and 2 doubles. Tatis has 8 home runs and 7 doubles in just 23 games since returning from the IL in September. So I feel like it's been, to be honest with you, a little bit of a quiet story. The fact that Tatis has been really productive since coming off the IL. Again, 8 home runs in 23 games now since returning from the IL, and a big home run on the very first pitch he saw in last night's game. So what kind of impact will Fernando have on Game 2? That's what to watch for in today's game against the Atlanta Braves. Joe Musgrove spoke with the media yesterday here at Petco Park. Here was Joe on his confidence level that he could achieve this level of performance after dealing with the injury earlier this season.
I know I prepare, mentally, physically as well as possible to, give myself the opportunity to be back and healthy. And then it's kind of just, one day at a time. You keep checking boxes, you show up and you give everything you have on days that you don't feel like doing it, and you kind of just hope that things are going to fall where they should. But we got a really good training staff here that do a good job of, creating good programs, and making time for us. So I felt pretty confident.
That was Joe Musgrove yesterday talking with the media. Here was Joe with more on his keys to success as of late.
Like I said, attacking on my game plan and not trying to rush things, just, using the pitches, be as efficient as possible while still, pitching my game. And obviously the scenario of when I came back in the year and the importance of how well the team was playing to not be the rock dragging guys back down, when Cease and Martin and Dylan were throwing so well. So, yeah, some of it's the atmosphere and the environment that I was, thrusted into when I did come back. And another part is, past experiences telling me that I need to do this the right way.
So that was Joe Musgrove, who has been very, very good as of late. Obviously, Joe, no stranger to pitching in a big-time environment, in a big-time game. Here is Joe on how he controls his emotions in this kind of environment.
Yeah, I try not to make too much of it. It's another game. Obviously, the stakes are a lot higher, and there's a lot more, at stake. But, it's the same game we've played all year long. It's a team that we've seen before. It's just a matter of managing your emotions and staying in the moment and, not letting the fears and doubt and worry, sink in. It's a real thing. Everyone experiences it. But I think the longer you play this game, the better you get at managing that and trying to channel it, to benefit you.
So that was Joe Musgrove yesterday here at Petco Park. Joe getting ready for a big-time start here tonight in Game 2 of this National League Wild Card Series. We'll talk a little bit more about Max Fried in a moment, break down what his season has been. We told you earlier that Max Fried, of course, was a draft pick of the Padres back in the day, traded to Atlanta a long time ago now in that Justin Upton trade all the way back in 2014. Here was Fried on facing the team that drafted him here in the postseason.
I mean, at this point, it kind of feels like a different lifetime. It's been so much time. Been with the Braves for 10 plus years. So, at the end of the day, everyone, it's a business. You move team to team, but it's just another postseason game. Got to go out there and leave it all out there and try to win.
All right, we'll see if it is just another postseason game. I don't know. This place was rocking so much last night, I think it's hard to ignore what these games mean and what they mean to these San Diego Padres fans. Let's dive into the matchup between the guys we just heard from, Joe Musgrove and Max Fried.
Let's take a look at who's on the bump today with our starting pitching preview. Presented by Chimney Sweeps, Inc., San Diego's trusted chimney and fireplace service company for 40 years. Call Chimney Sweeps, Inc. at 1-800-CHIMNEY or book an inspection online at chimneysweepsinc.com.
On the mound for the Padres, right-hander and San Diego's own Joe Musgrove. 6-5, a 3.88 ERA in 19 starts, 99 2/3 innings, 101 strikeouts, 23 walks this season. In his 9 starts since coming off the IL, Joe has been terrific. A 2.15 ERA in 50-plus innings. His last start of the regular season in LA, 6 innings and a third, 2 earned runs given up on 5 hits, and he struck out 6. Joe didn't see the Braves in the regular season. He actually hasn't seen them since 2022. Both those starts in 2022 are really good. He allowed just 2 earned runs in 12 2/3 innings. Musgrove will make his 4th career postseason start. He made 3 with the Padres in 2022, a combined 2.89 ERA in those 3 starts, including 7 scoreless innings in New York. That was a famous game, and 6 strong innings against the Dodgers during that 2022 postseason run. Meanwhile, on the mound for Atlanta, left-hander Max Fried. He's 11-10, a 3.25 ERA this season in 29 starts, 174 innings and a third. He struck out 166 and walked 57. His last start of the regular season was Friday against the Royals. He was great. 8 2/3 innings, no runs, 3 hits. He struck out 9. Fried posted a 1.74 ERA in his last 3 starts of the regular season. He faced the Padres in mid-May, gave up 3 runs on 9 hits in 4 innings and a third. Fried has a ton of postseason experience. Of course, he was a big part of that Braves team that won the World Series in 2021. He's made 1 postseason start in each of the last 2 seasons. Neither were really good. 2022 NLDS against the Phillies, 3 innings and a third, 4 earned runs given up. The 2023 NLDS against the Phillies, 4 innings and 3 earned runs given up. So we'll see if Fried has the ability to bounce back here in the postseason tonight. And that's a look at our starting pitching matchup between Joe Musgrove and Max Fried. You've been listening to the EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show on the Padres Radio Network. EcoWater SoCal 2024 BBB Torch Awards for Ethics winner. Find them online at ecowatersocal.com. Your water should be perfect. Padres winning last night, Game 1 of this 2024 National League Wild Card Series. What's in store for Game 2? Well, we're going to find out when we come back. Jesse Ackler, Tony Gwynn Jr. have the starting lineups, first pitch, and all the play-by-play coming up when we return. You're listening to Padres postseason baseball on the Padres Radio Network. Enjoy the game, everybody.